I'm going to go ahead and take a roll call to establish quorum. City of Tucson?
Here.
City of South Tucson? Town of Oro Valley?
Here.
Town of Marana?
Here.
Town of Saharita?
Here.
Pima County? Tohono Nation?
Good morning, this is Patricia, I'm here.
And Pasco Yaqui Nation. All right, we do have quorum, so we're going to go ahead and start with the in-kind forum. So regional planning efforts are enhanced by recording time donated by attendees, volunteers, and participants. PAG collects the data on the time dedicated to meetings and activities to apply for use as matching funds for grants and federal dollars. If you are paid with federal dollars, please let us know now. All right, hearing none, let's move on to the next item. All right, so it is my pleasure to present to the Transit Working Group and attendees of this meeting the upcoming changes to the May Sun Shuttle booklet. And I will be doing so by sharing my screen. So let me get that started for you all here. Share that. All right, so you should be seeing our tool called Remix that we use to plan transportation projects. And I'll just go through one by one. And as questions come up, you are free to type them into chat or unmute yourself and ask them. This is going to be a fairly informal presentation, so interruptions are perfectly acceptable. So I'm going to start with Route 401. And in the last booklet, what we had was we had a route realignment to this Vistoso Commerce Loop going northbound to get back onto Oracle. We've rerouted it back to Rancho Vistoso Boulevard. The drivers felt like this intersection at Oracle and Vistoso Commerce Loop was inconvenient for the left-hand turn to get onto Oracle. We've also eliminated the flag zone on Valle del Oro. This segment will now exclusively run on Oracle Road going northbound and southbound, and the time point stop will have shifted to the southbound stop at Oracle and El Conquistador Way. This is to allow for drivers and passengers to be picked up at designated stops, pre-existing stops that are used by Suntran. And it better mirrors the existing corridor so that drivers don't have to make so many turns, and it eliminates some mileage that we save for those who are new to the Sun Shuttle program. We get charged per mile. So that means that every time we're able to reduce the amount of mileage, even by a little bit with small savings like this, it adds up to a big difference over time. We expect that this detour will be able to be held up by the Oro Valley General Public Dollar Ride service. We've also added stops along Oracle at Ina, Suffolk, and Mountain Vista Road. This is to better mirror the existing stops that Suntran has along the Oracle corridor and allow for more people to use our services. Finally, our biggest addition to the Route 401 is the addition of a stop at Tohono Chul Gardens through most of the day. This is a big regional center, so we wanted to add it to our system to better enable both residents and visitors to visit the gardens, as it is a major destination for those in the region. Any questions on Route 401? Hearing none, I'll move on to Route 412. This is Arcasas Adobes Thornydale route. We are adding an additional 2 additional stops at Thornydale at McGee and Thornydale at Overton. This is just filling in gaps, similar to where the 401 was filling in gaps to better enable us to serve the northern the northern section of the Casas Adobes Thornydale corridor. That's the only change there. Any questions on those two additions? Hearing none, Route 413 and 414 remain unchanged for the time being. However, in the future, expect that these two routes will be seeing some changes happening in regards to extensions and improvements in that regard. Route 421X, we have renamed the route for better alignment marketing purposes. The X in SunTrans, the Sun system is meant to indicate an express service, which is also where the 421 gets its funding from. It is currently pulling from the express service bucket of the RTA money. Routing has not changed. However, we have normalized the route to every 90 minutes so that there is no weird morning trip that lasted. And we had a morning trip that had a layover that lasted about 40 minutes. That's gone, and now it will become every 90 minutes from La Cañada and Trader and the downtown Ronstadt Center. Any questions on Route 421X?
I had a question. Can you go back because it starts and it still has the same stop. Sorry, this is Orlentia from the town of Sarita. So it stops at the same transit locations like the Ronstadt, Laos, and then you have the casino and then town hall. I'm kind of sending it in for Vince Husted, who is no longer with the town. He mentioned that there were also some adjustments to some of the stops, so that either coming earlier or later than with the last version of the schedule. Is that correct? Is that still in place?
That's correct. So I'll draw your attention to this second run of the day. This run is really the only major change that we've seen between the previous version of the booklet and the new version of the booklet. This used to start at 6:03. So the first three runs of the day were 60 minutes apart. We've changed that to start at 6:33 in order to maintain a 90-minute headway throughout the entirety of the day and allow for commuters to arrive at downtown at 7:45 a.m. versus 7:15 a.m. We believe this change will allow for commuters to arrive at work at a more convenient time if they are using the 421X for commuting to downtown.
Okay. And so southbound, how does that change? Because we do have some workers that would use it coming south from Tucson, going to the Fry's stop, and then ride sharing from there to like the local mine and some of the other areas around town.
So the southbound reciprocal has not been changed.
Okay, so it's still 7:30 town hall. Okay.
Right. So we should have exactly the same schedule southbound as it was the last time. The only change will be in the northbound direction, and that's to make sure that we don't have a 40-minute layover. Previously, it was 7:15. That 7:15 bus would turn around and then go back at 8:05, which meant we had a 40-minute layover. We didn't want that anymore. This is now a 20-minute layover, which is standard across the entire day.
So how is the information being provided to the riders? Will they have is there a flyer at the stop saying, you know, route change or time change? Is there anything that you can give me that I can give to our communications department to let riders know that instead of the layover time, it's actually going to be headed north every 90 minutes?
Yeah, so all of our marketing is done through all of the RTA's services marketing is done through the Suntran marketing arm. So I don't know if anyone from that team is on the call or from National Express or Total Ride is. I see Davida.
Hi, Arlanthea. I will talk to Cindy and make sure that that's included in our press release.
Okay, thank you,
That we're
Davida.
doing. We do a press release just before the new ride guides come out to make sure that we can inform as many people as possible.
Okay, if you can send me something, I can have the town put it on the website, as well as they can put it on their Facebook account, Twitter, and I believe there's an Nixle texting method that they use.
Okay,
Fantastic.
I
And
will add that to my notes, Arlanthea. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see Dick.
Yeah, when will these, any of these changes take place down here on the 421, and when will we see the new booklets?
So the new booklets will be in circulation prior to the actual implementation date. And if I remember correctly, the implementation date is going to be on the 27th. Is that correct?
May 14th.
May 14th, excuse me. So the week of May 14th will be the start. We are legally required to give riders 2 weeks heads up. So those booklets will likely be ready by then and distributed to the shuttles.
Yeah, Dick, the distribution for the ride guides should be out that first week of May. So we'll start seeing stuff, but we'll also have social media and news releases happening at around that time as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions surrounding the 421X? All right, hearing none. We've made slight changes to Route 430. The routing alignment has shifted. Previously, we ran northbound through Tucson Estates and then back onto Kinney to Donald Avenue. We've planned to shift that from Donald to Western Way, going southbound to reach Bob. That is the only geometry change for this route. We did change the timetable to allow for more time between Laos Transit Center and Mission Road. We found that the current timing was insufficient for drivers to get between these two locations in a timely manner, given the 9 signalized intersections along the Irvington corridor. And then finally, we shifted the time point stop at Donald and Bop to Sheila and Bop here. And that is the majority of the changes for Route 430. Any questions? Hearing none. Route 440, currently, I can't get the map to work on our Discord or on our Remix server. So, but this route remains completely unchanged from the previous version. Any questions? Hearing none. Route 450, the only change for this route is an additional stop at Houghton and Poorman, going northbound and southbound along the Houghton corridor. Any questions on that? Hearing none. Route 486 remains unchanged at this time. And that covers the totality of the changes in regard to the May Sun Shuttle booklet. I'll take any overarching questions or any generalized questions at this time.
Hey, Rio, this is Jonathan Crow with Pima County. How are you?
Hi, Jonathan.
I logged in late. Did you report any changes to the Picture Rocks route?
No changes to Picture Rocks, no.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. That's all I had.
Rio, this is Mike with Town of Ore Valley.
Hi, Mike.
Hello. On the ones that were just added a stop,
Mhm.
does that not change the arrival times of the other bus stops?
So adjusting timetables based off of additional stops does happen if we anticipate that the stop will hold high traffic. For interstitial stops that are an addition that is intended to serve future growth, we will adjust as recommended by our operator. Right now, we do not see that the stops along Oracle at Ina, Suffolk, and Mountain Vista will cause any upstream delays in the timetable.
This is Mike again. Does that mean that you're thinking there's not going to be that many riders that are boarding or debarking on those stops?
No, I think that in addition to those bus facilities being built out for better and improved traffic, we've also eliminated sections that would cause conflict, such as the turn on to Valley de Oro. So altogether, it came out to a wash when we analyzed the timetables. Any additional pullouts onto the stops at Ina, Suffolk, and Mountain Vista were ultimately kept the timetable a wash.
Good deal. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Rio?
Yep.
This is Dick Roberts again, Green Valley. At one time, we had the 421 down to Continental Road to the shopping center there. To speak to you sometime, we can do offline sometime about possible, see what it is about maybe going south a little further.
Okay, understood. And I'm open to receiving any feedback on the current route alignments via email or through call. I'd be happy to take that conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Rio, Jonathan here again. Just to that point, what's the best way for us to review these besides just doing it on the fly right now with you?
So what I'll go ahead and do is there's a share option. I'll collect the email of everyone who is in attendance today, and I'll go ahead and share this as a file or as a project over to this entire team, so that you can review on your own time, go through and see if there's anything that you need to comment on. You should have the option to comment on this via Remix. So in the future, that's a great point, Jonathan. And I actually want to get into the habit of having the Transit Working Group having access to these preliminary files sooner. So thanks for bringing that up.
Great. Thanks, Rio.
Any other questions? I
I
see
have
Amy.
one. Yeah, I have one. So I see that we have a new pilot project in there. My question is more, I guess, about process. How does somebody request? Do we get called for projects, for instance? Because I just had this conversation with the our TPC person, Jose. If we wanted to try out Saturday, we do not have even Saturday service for our people up in Oro Valley. The only people that can ride is ADA. How do we put those requests in if indeed there is apparently additional monies out there? What is that process?
So I need to explore that in depth. taking over for Amber, there was not really any written documentation about how to put forward a proposal to Transit Working Group in order to allocate monies for new services or expansions of services. That's why you've seen a lot of these proposed changes be very incremental and aimed at saving mileage. So what I would request is that you send me via email an official request to for a proposal to put forth, and then I'll go ahead and do the research on how to enact that in the way that the Transit Working Group has done in the past.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share so we can get back to the agenda. So now I'm going to open the floor to James Castaneda from the city of Tucson to provide an update on the comprehensive operational analysis that we've been hearing about in the CAC Transit subcommittee. James?
Morning. Thank you, Rio. Thank you, everyone, for having us. I give this group a brief overview of where we are with the comprehensive operational analysis. So hopefully you can see my screen. But essentially, let me give you some background to start out with. So this comprehensive operational analysis covers Sunlink, SunExpress, and the Sun Shuttle and Sun Shuttle Dial-A-Ride options. This went out for RFP last spring. Contract was awarded, and the kickoff for the comprehensive operational analysis began last fall. Just as a general overview, the comprehensive analysis will be looking at all aspects of transit service to determine what is working well, what could use improvement, with the goal of improving the overall customer experience. With that, we're going to be looking at all aspects of those systems listed. So SunTran, again, SunTran, Sunlink, SunExpress, and Sun Shuttle. And where we are, so I'll give you an overview kind of where we are in the process. So data collection, this included gathering data at the route, trip, and level that was collected for spring of last year. It depends. There are some variants on the modes there. Some of the modes have different data acquisition dates, but essentially it looked at that dialed in data, and it also took into consideration all the existing relevant plans and documents that have been put forth for transit. So for instance, the long range regional transit plan is included as foundation for this, as well as the 2022 onboard survey and all those types of kind of large scale planning and study documents that we have conducted. So those are all wrapped up to inform the basis for the COA. So the data collection wrapped up in fall of this year. And then we did also complete a review of existing conditions. That review came in the form of milestone reports, as well as service operation reports that the contractor has created for us. I missed the project team. I apologize. I should have given an overview. So the COA is being headed by Transportation Management and Design, a transit firm that has conducted many of these COAs in the past, and the City of Tucson and PAG staff are on as managers managing all that TMD is putting in. In addition to TMD, we also have a public outreach piece, which is being conducted by HDR. So they're letting us go out to the public and solicit input regarding the COA. So speaking of that public input piece, that was initiated in early 2023. So January, February, March of this year, we went out and hosted a number of public outreach events, virtual meetings, stakeholder meeting, the like, which was mainly to solicit input from the public and that preliminary stage of what they would like to see out of this COA. So we heard a lot of feedback. We did actually extend the public outreach period, so that ended about a week and a half ago, we are still kind of calculating and summarizing the totality of that public input. So we should be able to report back on kind of a final version of what that first round of public input, kind of a summary of that here shortly. But since that point, we moved into the prioritization of principles and guidelines, as well as the development of draft recommendations. So that's where we currently are. We are working weekly with our consultants in kind of large brainstorming working groups to go through some of their draft recommendations and workshop it with both trans staff and staff PAG.
Have we seen,
Oh.
have we
Oh, sorry.
seen that draft? This is Amy Ramsey.
No, the draft service recommendations are still work in progress. We have very preliminary ideas on what service recommendations will be, but once we have kind of a solidified recommendations, we'd be happy to share that with this group. And to your point there, we hope to have those done by the end of May, beginning of June. So be on the lookout for that time period where we're going to have hopefully those draft recommendations wrapped up and summarized, at which point we'll be going back out to the public, creating a new public involvement plan, and we'll be soliciting input this time on what those draft recommendations are. We anticipate that to begin, as I said, in probably late June into July and August. Once that round of public input has been completed, then we will go out for a final recommendation phase where we'll go and issue the final recommendations as it come out from this. Again, I kind of covered a lot really quickly. So please, if there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer anything you might have.
I guess my question is again along the thing that I was asking Rio. I want to make sure that there's a process in place that it gets through this committee before it gets to TPC, before it gets to the RTA Regional Council. And we have a chance to comment, review, and before it gets to those next levels.
Understood. Thank you, Amy. And we'll certainly set up that process well before the finalization of the recommendations is put in place.
And again, once we have those draft recommendations locked in, we'd be happy to report out that information to this group.
I have one more. This is going to be a weird and sort of a depressing look, but in some of these COAs in the past, this is going to age me over the past 30 years, right when we're about to go out for a reauthorization of the RTA Next. Are they also looking at ways, will there be a synopsis or some addendum of what happens if RTA Next, the discontinuation of RTA Next? Is that part of this scope at all?
So in terms of scope and recommendation, Amy, that's a great question because we all know that the RTA Next is, on the horizon. So what the COA will be doing is it'll be providing us with a cost neutral recommendations as kind of basis for the COA. And then in addition to that, we'll also be looking at recommended changes and what those additional associated could be to kind of give leadership an idea of, if we have this much additional investment, what else could we do in the network to improve service overall? So I'll say that it's going to generate a baseline cost neutral approach. Again, that would be including the current provision of our funds. And then beyond that, what else we could improve if we had additional funding.
I see Davida.
Amy, I think part of the other question that you were asking was what happens if we don't have RTA Next? And Rio and myself and a couple others are working on that separate from the COA.
Okay, are you looking at all the elements as well? The Sunlink, the Express, the shuttles, the DARS?
Yep.
All right.
We're if for some reason we don't go past RTA, we all have to look at that. So I know Rio's working on it and I am also working on it.
DeVita, will that be coming to this committee for review and discussion?
Yes, but we're not close to
That's
doing that
fine.
yet.
Yeah,
But yes,
it can be a future agenda. That's good to
Yeah.
know. Good to know
And-
you're working on it.
yeah, part of it is, what, heaven forbid, whatever happens, we still
Yeah.
have to plan for how we go backwards.
Good, thank you.
All right.
I'm
This
now
is-
hearing it. Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Mike from Oro Valley. Are we looking at those goals for each of the agencies or as a group for the agencies?
I think the goals for the COA extend all different modes and the different sub agencies, but I think we're definitely looking at each system individually. So for instance, we kind of had a preliminary look at what Sun Train operations are, and we started taking a dive into Sun Shuttle operations last week. And I think we're going to discuss that more in the upcoming week. So those are kind of overarching, but then dialing into the individual modes.
All right, I think, I guess my question is, or my comment is, I think how to make it more effective for the users as a group should be looked at. So in other words, we have no way of sharing rides really, other than calling somebody else, another agency, and asking, hey, can you take this? So if we could see each other's rides, then maybe someone could be like assigning rides to the agencies, sort of a thing. So we're not, Oro Valley, for example, is not driving all the way to Tucson to pick somebody up and bringing them back. Or vice versa.
Right. And because that dial a ride is part of the COA scope, we will see recommendations on potential both improvements from both the user experience end and also from the operational end. And that could come in the form of further unification of the different methods of and systems of the Sun system overarching scheme. All right. Any other questions? Last chance, gang. All right. Hearing none, let's return to the schedule, and I will take a call to adjourn. Or I'll take a motion to adjourn, excuse me.
So moved, Lisa.
Do I hear a second?
Second, Orlentia.
All right. Any objections? Hearing none, this meeting has been adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rio.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Tina.
Rio.
Thanks, Ria. Looking forward to that email.
All right,
Thank
you bet.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Rio.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.